The Kentucky Derby, only a few days away. I'm Kelly Stewart, also known as Kelly in Vegas, joined by the Pony Pundits, Marco D'Angelo and Sean Alvarez. Guys, I'm excited to be hosting this today, mainly because I'm going to be sitting here taking notes for my own Kentucky Derby bets. We're going to be talking contenders. We're going to be talking long shots. And of course, we're going to get premium selections for the Kentucky Derby from Marco and Sean. Welcome into the show, gentlemen. I am so excited to get started. Marco, can you give yourself like a little bit of let's give your bio, if you will, into your horse racing background?
Well, Kelly, obviously I love betting the ponies, and everybody at this time of the year says they are an expert about handicapping horses. I do it all year long, and I also own, breed, and race horses, and I've done it since 1986. So when I break the races down, you're getting it from a perspective of somebody that handicaps the races and somebody that actually understands how the racing world works and what goes on behind the scenes. So we've done very well with our horse selections. And a couple years ago, we hit that big Kentucky Derby, big score. We turned a $390 investment into like $9,000 that day. We're looking to have a score on Saturday. Can't guarantee a $9,000 score, but you know, any score is a good score.
Before I ever place a race bet, I always text Marco or Sean Alvarez. And Sean, if you remember a few years ago, I was in Lake Tahoe. You had a nice score yourself that, well, you didn't share with me.
Well, you know, I was missing that text message. You were busy in Lake Tahoe. I didn't get the text message, and you know, I don't want to bug you, but yeah, we did pick out Mage 15-1. Came back with a nice little $330 Exacta. So it's kind of where I like to cut my teeth when it comes to these big races. Let's, you know, expose that $210 million that was bet in the Kentucky Derby last year, and let's you know, win some exactas and trifectas. We can place win bets you know, any other race of the year. So definitely looking forward to the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. So let's get into some of these contenders. We're just going to do a little roundtable style here. Get your thoughts on some of these horses that have lower odds, and lower odds for a reason. Number 8, Journalism. Marco, currently 3-1. I've heard this horse's name over the last several weeks. Tell me why you think they're a contender.
Well, this is the favorite in the Kentucky Derby, and deservedly so. This is a horse that's had 5 career starts. He's won 4 of the 5 career starts, including 4 straight. The horse is getting better with every start. He's the horse that owns the highest buyer speed figure in the race. He earned that 2 races back with a 108 buyer figure. Came back and ran another triple-digit buyer in his last race. In that last race in which he won, the asterisk to that was he really didn't need to win that race to get into the Derby. He already had enough points. So they definitely were going to win the race if they could win it, but they weren't going to overextend the horse in that race, because you want to have gas left in the tank for the Derby. And he still won that race rather easily, came back in the stretch. They made the one big run in the stretch, and he did what he does best. What I like about him in this field, when you've got a field of 20, you're going to hear a lot of talk on other horses about deep closers and how they are at the mercy of the pace, traffic, and everything else. This horse has tactical speed, Kelly, meaning he can break out of the gate, decide where he needs to be, and breaking from the post 8, I think, is ideal for him. This is the horse that is going to be tough to beat.
Sean, another horse, well, that is also getting a lot of play, and maybe that's because it sounds like a place I would eat in Vegas at 3 o'clock in the morning. From the 7th post position, Luxor Cafe, currently 15-1.
Yeah, Luxor Cafe in Vegas has a great shrimp cocktail special after 2 a.m. But yeah, this is a Japanese bred, or a Japanese horse that's coming over from Japan. And, you know, kind of a knock that I'm hearing a lot about this horse is the Japanese usually send their best crop of colts and fillies over to Dubai, and the trainer felt that, that wasn't necessarily the best route to win the Kentucky Derby. And in years past, we haven't seen Japanese horses win the Kentucky Derby. So maybe this is a little bit of a pivot. Let's not go through that big travel schedule of, going from Japan to Dubai and then over to Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby. So I don't think that's necessarily a big knock. Maybe, we're just trying to switch up their running style and how they get to the Kentucky Derby. So this is a horse that, if you watched Marco and I last year, I was really big on Forever Young. Maybe not as big on Luxor Cafe this year, but if you look at the sire of this horse, he's by American Pharoah. Not necessarily a horse that just won the Kentucky Derby, a horse that won the Triple Crown and then went on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. So this horse is bred to run long. He's been running long over in Japan. And then one of the big things that I really like about this horse coming to Kentucky compared to a lot of these other horses, he's going to face off against 19 other horses in the starting gate, something that a lot of these American horses have never seen before, and they're never going to see again in their career. Yet over in Japan, this horse is averaging about 14, 15 horses in the starting gate that he's been going up against. So he's been able to work out trips. Obviously, he's been the better horse in those races, but being able to manage that, getting around, working out a trip against those type of horses, I think that's a big angle leading up into the Kentucky Derby, having to go up against 19 others.
You guys talk about post positions a lot, and a horse that's sitting in the 9th spot, Burnham Square, 12-1, Marco. Can you kind of tell me why we're showcasing these guys that are in the middle of the post?
Well, Kelly, when you get a 20-horse field and there's not a lot of really odds-on type horses, even Journalism, who is the best horse in the race, was at 3-1, you're going to get a lot of prices. And Burnham Square, 12-1, I think is a very good price on this horse. I got to actually see this horse race in person. I was in Florida at Gulfstream Park for the Holy Bull Stakes, and we bet this horse, and he made a tremendous move around the final turn and just ran the field down in the stretch. This is one of those deep closers that we talk about. He's at the mercy of the pace. Now, by that, what I mean is if you're sitting way back in the race, I don't care how fast your horse is. If they go too slow in the first half of the race, you're not going to make that time up. You just can only go so fast. But what you need is them to go either honest fractions the first half of the race or fast fractions, because that means the front end is going to start coming back to you. And as you are using your closing kick, you're going to be passing those horses. Now, the problem, and Sean just talked about a 20-horse field, that's the other problem that closers have. Picture yourself on a highway, Kelly. You're on a 3-lane highway. You're in the middle lane, okay? You got grandma on the inside, you going real slow. You're behind a car in the middle. You want to get out around him, but there's somebody in the outer lane blocking you. That's what can happen to horses in 20-horse fields. And unlike cars, the brakes don't work as good and the accelerator doesn't work as fast. If you have to stop a horse's momentum in a race because he runs up on the back of somebody, that's called the horse having to be checked. He takes a second to get back into gear, and that can cost you a race. So they need everything to work in his favor. I think this horse will be flying. And another plus that he has is Brian Hernandez is the jockey on this horse. The Kentucky Derby, make no mistake about it, it's the Super Bowl, the equivalent of the Super Bowl. And you always hear about, nerves of people the first time they're in a Super Bowl, or how hard it is to win your Super Bowl. How many great quarterbacks never won a Super Bowl? Well, that goes the same way with some of these jockeys. The fact that Brian Hernandez won the Kentucky Derby last year gives him a big advantage on not having the butterflies, having the patience, and knowing what he needs to do. I think you're going to see a fast pace in this race because of where the speed horses drew. That's going to guarantee us honest fractions. This horse is going to be coming at the end of them. Don't overlook Burnham Square at a price.
Next up, Sean, we have Sovereignty, the 4th position here, 5-1 currently. You guys are saying is a contender. Tell me why.
Yeah, kind of like Marco had said, we're going to get speed in this race. This is one of those that's going to come from the back. This is a Godolphin owned horse, and Godolphin's been spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on young colts trying to get their first Kentucky Derby. So this is a really good shot for them, 5-1 on the outside, and you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper into this colt's running form just to kind of see the race that you want to see him run back, where he didn't really beat much, at least in my opinion, in the Florida Derby last time out in the Fountain of Youth 2 starts back. He beat River Thames, he beat Tappan Street, who Tappan Street also defected out of this race. And then the third place finisher in that race was Neo Equos. And that's kind of one of those where Neo Equus is a name your price type of horse. I don't think anybody's going to shy away from giving you 80-1 if you want that. So the fact that that's the third place horse coming out of those 2 races, it's not necessarily something I want to hang my hat on. But if you really kind of go under the cover and look at that start 3 starts back in the grade 3 street sense over this Churchill Downs track, he won going away by 5 lengths. And if you look at who he beat in that race, it's the likes of Tiztastic and Sandman, 2 horses that I know, at least in my opinion, and a lot of sharp opinions that I respect, really like the likes of Sandman and Tiztastic. So over this dirt track, over this Churchill dirt track, like I mentioned, I really think that that's a race that if he can get back to that type of race, then we're going to see the likes of this horse, this colt, late in the wire. And he's being sired by In a Mischief. We've always joked, or at least, people in Southern California, In a Mischief colts can basically run on Highway 101 if we ask them to. These horses can run the distance. They can run over dirt tracks. They can run over a wet track if that comes up on Saturday. So Sovereignty, you're going to have to swallow a little bit lower of a price at 5-1, but definitely a contender come Saturday.
Sean, I didn't want to interrupt you and ask for the weather report there on Saturday, but what are we hearing? This is Wednesday afternoon, so still a few days away, but we've seen some really crazy conditions there every let's say decade. We get just an absolute mud pit. What are we thinking for Saturday? Are we expecting dry weather?
Yeah, so there's definitely weather in the forecast. However, it's going down a little bit as far as the amount of rain that should land, at least in the forecast from what I've seen. So we're maybe looking at a little bit more of a wet track on Friday, probably good to yielding on the turf course. But these Churchill tracks are really meant to drain well. The superintendent and his crew are also really in touch with that weather forecast. So a lot of what you'll see is they'll seal the track. It's really just kind of compounding that dirt track and letting the water kind of run off and run into that rail and drain, and where that water is going to drain. So I don't think necessarily we're going to get a wet track. We may get a little bit of a soft turf footing, but I do think that we're going to get a fair dirt track, at least for the Kentucky Derby.
I love it when we get good weather. Marco D'Angelo in the 17th post position. We have a 6-1 horse named Sandman. I always think it's fun when they kind of have more creative names. This one's not so much, but there's a reason why you like this horse.
Well, Sandman is a horse that's been ultra consistent. This is a horse that's going to be making his 9th career start. Now, I point that out because for me, when you're looking at the younger horses that we're talking with 3-year-olds, I think the sweet spot for these horses entering the Kentucky Derby is between 4 and 6 starts. We talk about how horses can make big jumps. The light bulb goes on, whatever. You want your horse to peak that first Saturday in May. When you've got 9 career starts already, you pretty much are going to be what you are. Now, what this horse is a very good horse. He's one of those stone closers that's going to be coming at the end, has that big closing kick, coming off a win in the Arkansas Derby. But if you watch that race, it was perfectly set up for him. They had 2 horses on the front end that was going absolute suicide fractions. They were never going to sustain that for the full race, and he picked them up and put them down through the stretch to get the win. The only thing I'm going to point out with this horse is he's going to have those problems about the closers that we talked about with the other horse. But I think this horse is going to get overbet a little bit. And why I say that, he's sitting at 6-1 now. One of the minority owners of this horse is Griffin Johnson. If you don't know the name, then you're not on social media. This is a social media influencer that owns part of this horse. And he puts out TikTok videos just about every day regarding this horse's trip to the Kentucky Derby. And because of the name Sandman, they put a lot of music to him. Enter Sandman. If you're a big Metallica rocker fan, you know the song. And so this horse is going to get bet more than he should be bet here. Does he deserve being on your ticket? Absolutely. But I think you're not going to get the fair value of what this price should be on this horse in this race. But he is a contender for sure.
All right, Marco, really quickly, every year it seems like we have a scratch, at least in modern racing history. Let's talk about a horse that you think we should be keeping our eyes on if that seems to be the case.
Well, there's only one also eligible this year, and that horse's name is Baeza. If somebody scratches between, we're doing this on Wednesday afternoon and Friday morning, I believe 9 a.m. is the scratch deadline. If somebody spikes a fever, whatever, and pulls out of the race, Baeza gets in. If he gets in, slide him onto your ticket, okay? This may actually be the best horse in the race. That might not get to race. And the only reason he's not in here is he just missed on points. And the reason he missed on the points is he finished second in the Santa Anita Derby, which normally would have got him 50 points. Instead, he only got 37 and a half, I believe, because they changed the point system because there was only 5 horses in that race. And that ended up costing him the Derby. This is a horse to be reckoned with. And I'll let Sean tell you who he's related to because Sean likes one of his brothers a lot. Mage. He's a brother to Mage. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know why that went way over my head. Sorry. I was like, how am I going to scramble out of this? But, you know, I mean, we also talk about, you know, human connections and, you know, whether or not trainers are getting their horses ready and jockeys, whether or not, you know, what horse they're going to pick to ride because that's how they're going to get paid. They get 10% of whatever that horse is making off that purse. So we talk about John Sheriffs. John Sheriffs is one of those trainers that literally just lets the horse tell them when they want to run. He doesn't push their horses. So he was a late bloomer. You know, it took him 3 starts to break his maiden. And then, like Marco said, ran a big race in the Santa Anita Derby. But on top of that, you know, my favorite jockey in the country, I think he's the best jockey in the country, is Flavien Prat. And when I talk about human connections, this is Flavian's top pick to ride. If he gets into the main field, Flavien Prat is off of Neo Equus, the number 2, and back onto this number 21. So, you know, take that with, you know, for what it's worth. What I believe is the best jockey, that's who he wants to ride. So definitely not going to overthink that. And he will absolutely be on my ticket if he gets in.
All right, guys. Sean Alvarez. Let's give him a little publicity here. Right now, he's got a full selection up over at WagerTalk.com. We've got Exactas. We've got pick 3s. We've got pick 5s, of course, for the Oaks as well as the Derby. Sean is also sharing some of his best bets for the cards this weekend at Churchill Downs. Get his full selections and best bets for just $30. WT.buzz/SA. Now let's go into my favorite part of the show, and that's those long shots, right? We're all wanting a long shot to get in there and hoping that you have it in your Exacta or your try box. Sean, I'm going to let you go first. Grande, 20-1. We are finally starting to speak my language.
Yeah, big old price, 20-1. If you look at, like I said in the previous segment, look at the human connections. It's Todd Pletcher, it's Mike Rapoli, and it's Johnny Velasquez. You know, probably a Hall of Fame trainer, Hall of Fame jockey to ride this horse. And like we've spoke about, there is speed in this race. And like journalism, you really need to have tactical speed out of the gate to knock it shuffled back, but you also just need that closing kick. And if you look at the first 2 races in this horse's career, He won going away by 2.5 lengths in both, but he was in touch with those leaders. He had that tactical gate speed to be in a part of that kind of pace setters. But in his last start in the Wood Memorial Grade 2 last time out, he chased Rodriguez, who had that, the race to himself, kind of on a loose lead, wasn't being challenged. And Dylan Davis had this horse way further back. I think it was a good, really tactical trip to get ready for the Derby, and a trip that I would like to see. Now, Dylan Davis hops off. Johnny Velasquez jumps on, who rode this horse in his first 2 starts. So you get a little bit of comfort from the jockey. He knows the horse. He can be up if they go too slow. I don't think they're going to go too slow. I think they're going to really set up for this horse's closing kick. And being sired by Curlin, this horse should be able to run forever. So definitely looking forward to seeing what kind of price we can get out of a morning line of 20-1.
Marco, a horse that you're looking at a 30-1 price, Final Gambit, sitting there in the 3rd position. Talk to me about this horse. We've got quite a few 30 and 21 horses on this list. I'm really enjoying this.
Absolutely, Kelly. And this is a horse that has just 4 career starts. So this horse is nowhere near peaked. What I will tell you about him is the question mark is he's trying dirt for the first time. He had been racing. He raced 1 race on turf. Then he raced his other races on a synthetic surface. Now, we don't know how he's going to respond until he does it. Obviously, Brad Cox, one of the best trainers in the country, thinks he can handle the dirt. I remember a horse several years ago. It was one of my other great Kentucky Derby scores, was a horse named Animal Kingdom. He brought me back a big price for win in that race, and he was making the jump from turf to dirt for the Kentucky Derby, and he got the job done. This horse, if you go back and look at his last race, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, he made a move. He was sitting dead last. He went from 11th to the winner's circle. Not only did he swoop the field in that final turn and through the stretch, he drew off after he cleared. That was one scary move, and if he does anything close to that on this dirt surface and the race sets up with the fast early fractions, he's going to be a big price. That last race, his buyer speed figure was a 90. His previous high was a 65. So you talk about these lightly raced horses that can make the big jumps. Well, that was him. He made one of those big jumps. And if he's got another big jump in him, he could be right there at a big price. I'm going to go ahead, look at him on the bottom end of some of my exotics at a big price.
Marco, really quick, just for those following along at home, explain to me what an exotic is.
An exotic is either an exacta, trifecta, or a superfecta. Exacta is you're picking the first 2 horses in the exact order, exacta, hence. Trifecta is picking the first 3 horses, and a superfecta is picking the first 4 in that particular race. There are other bets, Kelly, that are called pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s. Those are sequence bets where you're betting them over a period of races, the winners. You can also take those exactas, superfectas, tries, all of those. And whenever you make the bet, instead of having to have it exact, instead of saying 1-2, you can say, give me an exacta box 1-2. And that means when you say box, you get it both ways, 1-2, 2-1, but those 2 have to finish first and second.
Thank you, Marco. Sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves and forget that there are still newbies watching our videos. Thank you to all of you guys who've been hanging out with us here. We are learning a lot about this year's Kentucky Derby. And Sean, a name that I like, right? I know we're not supposed to bet on horses because of names, and I know I keep bringing it up, but it's so much fun to have really cool names. This horse's name is Chunk of Gold, 30-1.
Yeah, and at that price, he's possibly, if he wins, he's going to make people a chunk of gold. So talk about a rags to riches story. Back in October of 2023, this horse was purchased for just $2,500. And now, 2 years later, he's in the Kentucky Derby starting gate. And, honestly, at 30-1, we're probably going to see maybe close to 50-1, 60-1, trained by Ethan West, ridden by Jareth Loveberry, not necessarily household names that, people are used to, turning on their TV and betting on. So this is another closer that, hopefully gets that pace scenario set up in his favor, and then can come closing late. And with the post position, he got all the favors in the world. He can let the 18 horses on his inside battle for position, gun for the lead, sit back, what have you, whatever they want to do. And Jareth Loveberry can kind of see what they're doing, come over, get his horse into a good settling position, and then make that one big run. So that's one thing that I really like about this horse, is that he really shouldn't have too much traffic trouble, except for, maybe turning from home, having to gun down those horses in front of him. And, a couple of weeks ago, I was out to breakfast with a very sharp horse racing handicapper. And he said one of the angles that he really likes is, these older trainers going slow, fast, as far as training goes. And that's what you see out of this horse's work pattern leading up to this Kentucky Derby. Had a really, not a slow, but a mediocre 49-1, and then a bullet 59-2, and basically did that in sequence back over again. And those are his work leading up into this Kentucky Derby. So not household names as far as the human connections go. And I think that we can get probably better than 30-1. And even if he doesn't win this race, he can definitely spice up those exactas and trifectas that we were just talking about.
All right, Marco, another horse that is 30-1 in the 13th post position, Publisher. Talk to me about this horse and why you think they are worth maybe a sprinkle to win this race.
All right, Kelly. Live update for you, Kelly. The horse you own with me just finished 4th, raced very game, was hung the entire to the 3/4 pole, and Sean can tell you that's a horrible trip, and never got a breather. Gave it up in deep stretch to finish 4th. We had the lead about 1/8 of a mile from the finish line, but that was a good finish for our horse. For Publisher, this horse, number 13, lucky number 13, if you're not superstitious, and I'm not, 30-1. We get Irad Ortiz, another of the top jockeys in the country. This horse really intrigues me because he's still a maiden, and yet he found his way into the Kentucky Derby. And for the newbies out there, maiden means the horse hasn't won a race yet. He's managed to get enough points on the Derby trail to get into the Kentucky Derby without winning a race. He's had 7 career starts. He's finished 2nd or 3rd in 5 of those 7 races. That in itself is good. But this horse has had troubled trips in numerous of his races, and that's part of the reason why he hasn't won yet. If he gets a clean trip, and now we're asking a horse that does like to race from behind to get a clean trip and stay out of trouble, if everything goes his way, this horse, I feel, can hit the ticket at a big number. He was closing on Sandman. And I want to use this comparison because a lot of people love Sandman in this race. If you like Sandman, he's 6-1. Publisher's 30-1 and had trouble in the race, had to get checked because of a horse pinching him off, and still was flying to finish 2nd to Sandman. So I can get Sandman at 6-1. I can get Publisher at 30-1. You want to talk about value? We talk about plus EV. I think this horse needs to be on your ticket. And if everything goes right, he might find his way to the top of the ticket and really light up your tote board. His last 3 races, his buyer numbers have continued to improve, 81, 86, and then a jump to 95 in his last race. Another jump puts him right there with the top contenders in this field.
Sean, another horse with a fun name, Tiztastic, is on your list as a long shot, 20-1 in the 14th slot.
Yeah, so the 14 Tiztastic and the 13 Publisher that Marco just talked about are stablemates, both being trained by Steve Asmussen. And, one thing we tend to see, especially leading up to the Kentucky Derby, is that everybody is suddenly, a workout reporter. All of a sudden they know exactly how the horse is training, how they're leading up to the Kentucky Derby, and everybody wants to know what those workout reports look like. And if you're paying attention to that right now, everybody's talking about how Tiztastic is supposed to be the better Asmussen trained, but Publisher looks better than him on the track working out. But if you look back at how this horse trained at Oaklawn, he's never been a good workout horse in the morning. He kind of is full of himself, and being buy a dam, buy tap it. That's kind of what we expect out of these type of horses. So doesn't necessarily like the mornings. I would not even come close to hanging my hat on the workout reports. He's been running or working out that way, and he got into the Kentucky Derby, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about that too much. And if you look at what he did last time out in the Louisiana Derby, Joel Rosario took him back a lot further back than what his jockeys have done with him in previous races. And what that did, and granted they were cooking up front, but it just got this horse was able to relax, made his one run, and one going away. So Joel Rosario takes the ride, takes the mount back for the Kentucky Derby. I think we see a very similar trip to that. Joel knows kind of how to get that trip out of this horse. So hopefully they cook early, and we'll see if this horse can make that one run come into the stretch.
Marco D'Angelo has been in the horse business longer than I've been alive. Is that a joke? No, it's not. It's for real. Marco has owned, bred, raced horses since the 1980s. So when Marco shares his selections, you're getting top tier information from someone who knows the sport inside and out. Right now, you can get his Kentucky Derby selections, including his MLB, NBA, and NHL plays on Saturday for just $39. If you use coupon code DERBY10, get you $10 at checkout. All right, guys, we got to know. We're going to get into some best bets here. I'm going to let Marco go first.
All right, my top four for the Derby. And again, if we have that scratch, this definitely order will change for me. I think it might for Sean as well. But I've got number 8, Journalism, on top. We've already talked about him. Number 18 is my second choice, Sovereignty. I didn't get to talk about him. This is a Bill Mott trained horse, 5 career starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds. He enters in this race second in the Florida Derby. I point that out for 2 reasons. One, the horse that won the Florida Derby would have been one of my choices in this race, Tappan Street, but unfortunately suffered an injury last Saturday in his final workout and had to be withdrawn from the Kentucky Derby. So the only horse that beat him out of the Florida Derby is not in here. And history has shown that over the last, decade or so, a couple decades actually, the best path to the Kentucky Derby winner's circle is through the Florida Derby. That is another reason why I like Sovereignty so much. And his strength is, I think he loves the added distance of the Kentucky Derby. These horses will be going this distance, 1.25 miles, for the first time in their careers. The way he closed in the Florida Derby tells me he wants more distance. I'll take him. Second. Third horse for me is number 10, Grande. This is a horse that I think is improving at the right time. He only has 3 career starts. The only knock against him is he's entering this race through the Wood Memorial. As good as the Florida Derby is for producing Kentucky Derby winners, the Wood Memorial has been the least productive. But he went a big race in that race. The horse that won that race, the Bob Baffert horse, Rodriguez, a lot of people talk about him in the Kentucky Derby. That horse had a perfect race, and Grande was hung the entire race, 4 and 5 wide, covered a ton of ground, and came from behind off of slow fractions. I told you how hard that is to do. If he takes another step forward, only 3 career starts, he could be right there. And rounding out my field, I talked about him already. Number 9, Burnham Square. So for me, it's 8, 18, 10, and 9 are my 4 choices for the Kentucky Derby.
All right, Sean, take us home with your Kentucky Derby selections. I know you're going to be selling some of your Exactas, your tries, your pick 3s, and of course some of your other selections for the Oaks, but I'm going to put you on the spot. I need just give me something easy. Give me a 2-horse Exacta box for the Kentucky Derby. And then, of course, give me the 4 horses that you will be wagering on Saturday.
2-horse Exacta box. I'm glad that Marco and I are kind of on that same page. I would say that's going to be the 8 Journalism and the number 10 Grande at 20-1. We're kind of go into my my top 2 selections, and while I do believe that the number 8 Journalism is by far the best horse in the field, I just don't want to swallow that price up top. I don't want to put that as my number 1 pick just in case people are betting on the win end. There's plenty other races where you can have a lot more of a confident opinion if you want to bet on the win end. And I really do think that Journalism is going to be around that 2-1, 5-2 type of number. So my top pick is going to be Grande. I talked about him briefly earlier. Marco just talked about him. I agree with everything he said. He was chasing a loose leader in Rodriguez. That is not going to be the case come Saturday in this Kentucky Derby race. I believe he's going to be chasing a contested, quick and early pace and kind of set up for that closing kick. I love that Johnny V is back on to ride. Nothing against Dylan Davis, but love the human connections that know how to win a Kentucky Derby. And I won't talk too much about Journalism. Like I said, the best horse in the race, we're going to try and beat him up top, but not a horse that I'm willing to be bullish on and keep him off my ticket. So the number 8 Journalism will be my second choice. I spoke about the number 7, the Japanese horse Luxor Cafe, or like Kelly says, where you can get a 2 a.m. shrimp cocktail in Vegas. I hope that I'm not 1 year too late being so, I loved Forever Young last year, ran a big race. So hopefully we can get somewhere around that 15-1 on this Japanese horse, number 7, Luxor Cafe. And just got done talking about the number 14, Tiztastic at 20-1. So that's going to be my selections. Number 10, Grande, over the number 8, Journalism, the number 7, Luxor Cafe, and the number 14, Tiztastic.
Thank you to Sean and Marco for all of their insight on this year's Kentucky Derby. You guys can check out all of our other videos here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. I know Marco and Sean have both done some solo stuff. In addition to this video, again, make sure you guys hit that like button. Give us some thoughts in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, don't forget to be subscribed so you never miss another video here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel.